What's up, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Trak Flashback. And as we were on our way to kind of get ready for Mid-Carolina's Winter Series kickoff, the news broke and the schedule dropped. We now know what the roadmap for the 2026 Progressive American Flat Track season looks like. We've got the staples are holding. We've got a facility coming back after a few-year hiatus. We got a couple of new kids on the block, and we're going to kind of go through some of that and check out the schedule ourselves, do a little quick chatter about it. We spoke about it on Tank Slapping Podcast with Corey Texter and sort of highlighted his involvement with the amateur showcases that are going on there. We'll touch on that as well and look at an apparent rider move. And then one other thing I just kind of wanted to touch on, and that'll wrap up the show for today. So, yeah, let's kick things off. Let's dive into that 2026 schedule. So as per usual, and as we always know, the series is going to kick off down there in Daytona with Bike Week. There's 2 rounds, that doubleheader at the short track outside of Daytona International Speedway. You can't really start anywhere else. You got to be down there in Daytona, got to be down there for Bike Week. Doubleheader to kick off. And this first part of the schedule, there's no switch-ups from last year. Everything's kind of hold and serve, hold and firm. Familiar locations, we get to see the 4th year at some of these tracks, the 3rd year at another one. So cool to see those relationships continue on. And this part of the schedule really hold how it is. I like how this, first part is done. I know I complain about gaps in the schedule, but where they are here at the start of the season, it feels almost necessary. But nonetheless, the schedule starts down there in Daytona Bike Week, that Thursday and Friday, the doubleheader at the short track. And that'll kick off our season. And hopefully we get to see a lot of really cool things down there in Daytona. Seems to be one of the destination locations for a lot of riders. If you're going to get one-off events, it feels like it's going to be your Daytona, Lima, and Springfield nowadays, if anybody's going to, make a surprise appearance. So we'll get to see everybody unveil, I guess officially their new rides, their new teams and everything, and see how the opening rounds kick off. It's a place that over the past couple of years have been dominated by Dallas Daniels and Cody Kopp with a Brandon Robinson and Tom Drain breakthrough there in 2024. And we'll just have to see how things shake out down there in Daytona before the series shifts back up to Sonoy, Georgia for the 4th year in a row. And a weekend earlier than last year, but sort of still keeping that 1 week in between Daytona and Sonoy. Sonoy has become my favorite track on the schedule, honestly. And that's a little bit biased probably because it's close by and I can attend it. But man, the racing there has been really, really good. The 2 years I've gotten to go, the crowds have been solid. It's cool to see that place get packed out. And I hope that relationship can continue. High Bank Car Track is kind of what I'm familiar with being a Southeast guy. So really cool to see those first 3 rounds remain the same. And then you take that month off before they head out west. And, it's kind of necessary. The only thing that you could possibly even really squeeze in here, I think, is maybe like if you can get a race in Texas or, somewhere else in the Midwest. But you got the 2 rounds in Cali, those back-to-back weekends. Glad that they're able to do that. A lot of dirt racing is struggling with racing and making those trips out to California. We hear it's a big talking point in sprint car racing on the expenses of going cross country. And look, it's a pretty similar factor for teams and riders who are based out of California having to go east. But a lot of these teams, it's a big haul for them to go from the Midwest or East Coast out to California and make those trips happen. So I'm glad this is back-to-back weekends. You can't really do much better with that unless you were going to do like a double header on one of those and then add another round. I know I talked about wanting to see maybe a race at Merced. I'm off of that because after watching the USAC races here recently, I forgot that Merced had a guardrail. So we don't want that. But I don't know, maybe Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway there in Bakersfield, maybe that could be an option in the future, something they can explore. But we start off at the end of April with Ventura, 4th year in a row for Ventura. Cool to see that partnership continue. And then a week later up in Silver Dollar. Hopefully Lodi can kind of find its way in there during the week. Maybe that Thursday night kind of worked out pretty well for them last year. Hopefully that can happen again and provide an outlaw race for some of the pro riders who are traveling out west to have a chance to earn a little extra money. Both of those events will have a CTR showcase for the amateur riders. So cool that Corey's pulling his events out there and partnering there. Again, we'll talk about more of that in a little bit. But yeah, California swing stays the same. And in the past, we've had a little bit longer gap from California until the following rounds. But this year, this coming up, only a week in between. So you've got Silver Dollar Speedway, and then you come all the way across the country to Budds Creek Motocross Complex there, and Potomac Speedway, the flat track or the oval track that's there on the grounds, and it'll be part of Throttle Fest there on May 16th. And this is a track pretty paper clippy. After watching late model videos, it feels like the straightaways go forever, and then you hook a hairpin and turn back the other way. Shrink down Williams Grove pretty much. And it's really cool, though, that American Flat Trak is reinvesting back in the Northeast. I've been a huge fan of racing up there all my life, and so I'm glad we're getting 2 rounds there in the Northeast. You've got the Potomac Speedway there as part of Throttle Fest, debut for that track, and I've definitely mentioned some skepticism about that, so we'll just have to see how everything plays out there. I will say, like, the Northeast swing, I do have a few concerns about. We'll see how Throttle Fest goes with everything that's going on there. It could definitely be an opportunity for new fans to get involved in the sport and to witness Flat Trak for the first time. And hey, man, that track could offer a lot of block passing. Should be interesting to see how that sort of plays out there. Would love to hear thoughts from riders who've maybe ridden there or tested there. But after the Budds Creek round, they head up to Williams Grove Speedway. It's been on the schedule sporadically, but really cool that Williams Grove used to be back on the schedule. Big half-mile, long straightaways, big old paperclip track, a little bit slower banking, a lot flatter than you get see out of like a Hagerstown-type paperclip. But yeah, really cool to have Williams Grove back on the schedule. This could be a really exciting weekend if you're a motorsports fan in the state of Pennsylvania. So selfishly, I suggest going to the amateur race at Williams Grove on Friday, the CTR Showcase, Williams Grove on Saturday, and then head up about an hour north of Port Royal for the Weikert on Sunday, that Big Peg sprint car race. But that sprint car race is where my concern with the Williams Grove round does kind of take place, is that particular sprint car event is taking place the entire weekend in Port Royal. So if we're looking at any potential crossover, it could pull a lot of fans up north of Port Royal. Hopefully they won't. Hopefully they'll come down to Williams Grove. Look, you can see 3 days of sprint car racing, and the big money's on Sunday. So come watch Flat Trak on Friday and Saturday, and support American Flat Trak there in Williams Grove as they make their return. We need to pack these stands. We need to get a lot of support from the fans in this region so that it's worth them coming back. You see the good crowds in Sonoy. You see the good crowds out there in California supporting it. I mean, California and Pennsylvania and, pockets of the Southeast, and definitely, obviously, Illinois, obviously. That's, yeah, cool. Glad I said that. But yeah, those pockets, those parts of the country are vital for Flat Trak racing. That's sort of, your hotbeds effectively. And we get a lot of talented riders, some amazing riders have come out of the Pacific Northwest. It's just hard to make it make sense to get back out there. You're kind of pigeonholed into having to go, like, we need to be at Daytona, we need to be at Sturgis. We better not leave Springfield. Sturgis, they've got to figure that out. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. But Williams Grove back on the schedule could be an amazing race. I just hope that we get some fan support and they're not pulled in other directions. And you might be saying, Scotty, why would you even mention the sprint car race? You're going to make people go away. Well, just got to be realistic about it. I'm hoping that the Flat Trak community comes out and supports that up in Pennsylvania and chooses to go 2-wheel racing instead of 4-wheel racing, at least on Friday and Saturday, guys. But from Williams Grove, we head back into the Southeast region and head to Hohenwald, Tennessee for Tennessee National Raceway, a track that is now operated by Billy Lane, the custom bike builder, and cool to see his interest and investment in Flat Trak racing. And this track could be really, really good. I've seen clips from riders, testing it out there, and I think this could be an amazing 450 race. We'll see how it, does for the twins, but looks like a really exciting track. Saying it's the Nashville short track is a bit of a reach. It's about hour and a half, 2 hours from the Nashville airport. So a little bit of a haul from Nashville, but really cool to see a new track again, the return of Williams Grove, and on each side of that, the new kids on the block with Potomac and with Tennessee National Raceway. So again, really cool to have Billy Lane interested in Flat Trak racing and helping support this. That's an event that I hope does really, really well. Yeah. So after a pretty hectic, stretch there from the California rounds through Tennessee, they get a couple of weeks off before heading back to Lima. You get the doubleheader again at Lima, and this will be the return of our Triple Challenge race, which kind of surprised me. I didn't feel like the crowd the Friday night of Lima was all that great, but Jared's gonna keep the Triple Challenge and keep the doubleheader going. There've been plenty of rumblings about another cushion track maybe thrown into the mix at some point on the schedule, but it was not going to usurp or replace Lima. We're not doing that. But doubleheader at Lima, Triple Challenge on Friday, the usual national on Saturday. And so that stays the same kind of after we do the little switcheroo there for the end of May, early June, everything back to somewhat normal for the rest of the schedule and keeping with those relationships and those facilities that the series has gone to for many years. You've got the doubleheader in Lima, followed by the DuQuoin Mile on July 4th, and then Amateur Nationals will take place the week after the DuQuoin Mile, as opposed to that week in between Lima and DuQuoin. Curious how that will impact travel and who all is able to attend Amateur Nationals. There's things that I think still need to be tweaked with Amateur Nationals from a cost standpoint, make it more affordable for families to make that work. And they were moving in the right direction with some things last year, but it just doesn't feel like it has that allure anymore. Quite frankly, I feel like the Corey Texter Promotions events, they feel bigger. Winter Throwdown is definitely its own animal, but even the series that he ran last year, and I feel like the showcase events just almost hold more weight than Amateur Nationals. So we got a ways to go with that, but shifting that to the week after DuQuoin. And for the pros, for the experts, they're off for about a month after DuQuoin before they head out to Sturgis for the Sturgis Super TT on August 8th. And then Jack Pine Gypsies holds another short track race on the 10th of August, day between the TT and the short track, but no doubleheader, no triple challenge at Sturgis this year, just the one TT and the one short track. No qualms with this at all. We get to sort of this final stretch of the season where everything's pretty condensed here in this final, effectively just a month for the final 5 rounds to take place. And after you leave Sturgis, you get a little bit of time off before you head to Land of Lincoln and Thunder Valley and Peoria, and then the Springfield doubleheader. So great to see Peoria back on the schedule, and leading up into the Springfield doubleheader, once again, a triple challenge race on Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and the finale, granddaddy of them all, Springfield Mile, that Sunday of Labor Day weekend. And Springfield it's so cool to have it as the finale. I thought Lake Ozark put on some good racing. It was neat having it part of that rally, and provided some pretty good racing, like we said, and then it's right there on the lake. So it's, I guess, a fun little, way to end your season. But just when you walk into the grandstands at Springfield, when you walk through that facility, I've only been once. I've actually been twice. We got to the grounds and it was completely washed out, and then we just drove back home. So 13 hours each way just to basically eat at a Buffalo Wild Wings the first time I went up there. And then over 2023, we were able to return and see those championship fights come to a head there. And that place is it's legendary. It's iconic. It's really special. If the walls could talk, it's one of those type of facilities, and you feel it when you go in there as a fan, or at least I do. Maybe I'm being a little too much of a hype boy right now, but Springfield, so cool to have that as the finale. Very excited to see Jared Mees able to have the finale take place there, and still continuing his promotion of that event. So 16 rounds for the schedule. Still wish we could get back up to 18 at some point, but I'm very happy with it overall. I have, some reservations about a couple of things, but like I said, I feel like we're hitting pockets that we need to hit. It would be cool to see another cushion track. It would be cool to see maybe some love in the state of Michigan. But if you're an expert or even an amateur in that region, you've got a loaded RPM schedule. Check out Jeff Hires. He's got a lot of fair races there that he's doing, or fairground tracks that he's got, and just other facilities as well. He's bringing back Lake Odessa for his series, and then of course the races at DuQuoin and Lima. So if you feel a little left out, go to the AFT races you can, and then make a little extra money at those RPM events. But really happy with the schedule. The gaps that are in there don't feel as much of a hit on the storylines as it felt like they were last year. Things are condensed mildly. The only difference really this year is that we don't have the week off after Springfield and then another round. So everything pretty much lands on the same time as it did last year. But the gaps, really, we just had that one big lull after Sonoy as they head out to California. I have no problem with that. And then the big lull after DuQuoin. And truthfully, when you look at that stretch from the end of April 25th through July 4th there at DuQuoin, that's a big chunk of the season. That's a lot of miles on these teams and these riders, especially that cross-country trip that they got from California to Maryland there. It's not as bad as the high limit sprint car trip where they got to go from like Skagit, Washington to Port Royal in the span of 3 days. So we're not torturing guys that bad, but it's a really, I think it's a sustainable schedule, and hopefully we can keep those relationships growing with those tracks that are on there. You notice that there's no Lucas Oil, no Lake Ozark. Those tracks no longer are not on the schedule for this year. Maybe they come back in the future. It didn't seem like Lucas Oil was a feasible option. I feel like that race had to have lost the money. That facility is incredible. What an amazing facility, and promotes some great racing. But I saw through several broadcasts some empty grandstands there, but they have their crown jewel events for car racing, and I'm sure that facility is probably doing all right, but just not, maybe it doesn't make sense for Flat Trak this year. And the finale at Springfield just makes more sense. I think it's probably a worthy worthy sacrifice to move the finale back to Springfield there on Labor Day weekend. Now that we've got the schedules out, we can look forward to more rider announcements and such. But it also has in those press releases, AFT's throwing a few more classes at us, a couple of extra things to get you excited there on race day. And they're expanding the adventure trackers. They're going to have a few more races for them. They've also are incorporating the American Flat Trak Street Trackers, which I heard was going to be like basically just rebranding the hooligan name, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. Trying to focus more on those Class C rules, those production engines, and make it more affordable and try to get more manufacturer support. A cool thing we'll kind of focus on and talk a little bit more about is the Mission Foods CTR Core Texture Promotions showcase races. So Corey laid a lot of this out on his Facebook page and on Tank Slapping Podcast when we chatted with him. These showcase events will be at Daytona, at Sonoy, at Ventura, at Silver Dollar, and then Potomac with Throttle Fest, Williams Grove, and in Tennessee. So he's going to have these showcase events take place the night before the Nationals happen. This will not be a series, not points paying, which is more sustainable or more feasible for a lot of riders who maybe aren't able to chase a season-long points championship. If you're local in California, you come out to those 2 rounds and get your name out there. And if you want to make the travel, hey, by all means, Corey and his team do a great job. And I'm not paid to say that. I genuinely feel that way. I was blown away the first time I went to Winter Throwdown in 2021. I've been happy to support Corey where I can with these events. And I feel like this year and the showcase events that he's going to be doing with this Road to AFT sort of structure is going to be great. And these will be amateur events, no pro classes on these nights. I'm pretty sure it goes against the rules to have the pros on the track the night before the Nationals anyway. But the amateurs are going to get to showcase their talents and their skills on a streaming platform in front of pro riders and pro teams. Hey, for AFT, it's a win because now you got a bunch of riders showing up to race the night before. You might get a few more butts in the seats. Now, they're still fine-tuning a few details with this, but it seems like in the 450 production class, if you make the main event there on the showcase nights, then you'll get to be showcased again on the national nights as part of the AFT program, which is, again, just a great thing for these kids to have. I mean, just think about it. They're getting to race on the same tracks that American Flat Trak races on. They're getting to expose the riders, their own brand, help build that up. They're also getting exposure to tracks that they're probably going to be racing on when they turn pro. You can start building a notebook at a young age and bring that knowledge and that familiarity with these racetracks into your rookie year. And shoot, you might come out and be able to steal some wins there in that opening season just from having knowledge of racing on these tracks. I mean, these riders who, are maybe just turning into the 450s, maybe they're 14, maybe they get a couple of years of this. Right now we'll just not get too far ahead of ourselves. It's just this year for now, but to have the opportunity to race on these types of tracks the same weekend and the night before the American Flat Trak races and be in front of a crowd, hey, fans, go buy these tickets too, but be in front of these top riders, these top teams, and almost, unofficially audition yourself for maybe future contracts. So these amateur riders have a great opportunity there, and really looking forward to seeing what Corey's able to continue to grow there. His investment in Flat Trak is really, it's really admirable how much he's investing in amateur racing, and cool to see AFT come on board. So just great seeing the support all the way through from the pro ranks to the amateur ranks and helping grow this sport and try to get it back to, I don't think we're ever going to get back to like where we were in maybe the Camel Pro era. But hopefully we're on the upswing here, and it's cool to see that kind of investment. I mean, I feel like he's going to get a pretty stout group of riders there for those California races. Hopefully the locals out there can show out. Daytona Bike Week is going to be, a great opportunity. I would love to see more events around there to make that, a more lucrative sort of trip. We've had the Steve Nace races, but unfortunately rider counts have kind of dwindled there recently. I haven't seen any real promotion about other events that might take place during Daytona Bike Week, but hopefully something else can pop up as we get closer to that time. But yeah, guys, check out these Corey Texter promotion showcase events. And I'm hoping we'll be able to attend a few. We'll just have to kind of see how life is looking here the next few weeks. A lot of things sort out over here Scotty's way. But yeah, we've got schedules out, we got travel plans, and now we got to look towards rider announcements. And one is kind of already out there. Now, when I got to Mid-Carolina Speedway on Saturday for their winter series, hanging out with a few people, and was shown a Facebook post that Trevor Brunner is going to be with KMA Racing. for 2026 aboard some Yamaha YZ450Fs that are going to be, he's going to have Jeremiah Duffy in his corner as well. And those bikes are going to have engines built by Ron Branda. So, Trevor no longer with Turner Racing, apparently, after a runner-up effort in the championship last year and a win there at Lucas Oil and some other strong efforts. Trevor left Turner Racing after a 2021 campaign and hopped over to the Estenson bikes for 2022 and 2023 on those Yamahas, found some success there. And now Trevor hopping back on the blue bikes. And that's our first, I guess, domino to hit the airwaves for 2026's shakeups and rider announcements. Trevor going to stay in the singles class. And we'll see what this looks like. Is this going to be a full pull? Is he going to do all the rounds? Is it going to be selective? Is he going to be, staying king of the outlaws effectively with how much he cleaned up there in some of the non-national events? But new look for Trevor. Like you said, Jeremiah Duffy's going to remain his crew chief, the Lawrenceburg connection there. And we wish Trevor all the best in his new effort, but that does take a rider away from the Turner Racing team. So we'll have to see what that's going to look like for next year. Do they add a second rider? Do they stick with just Walker Porter? So we'll have to see what sort of shakes down there in the Turner Racing camp as the next few weeks lay out and we head into 2026. But just kind of a surprise announcement there. Scotty Dubler mentioned that he saw that Brunner got some Yamahas in a recent podcast and Off the Groove, but waiting for things to materialize. And here we go with Brunner going to KMA Racing. And it looks like in their profile picture on this Facebook thing I was sent was Coy Cummins. So maybe it's a two-rider effort. Maybe it'll just be a lot of focus on Brunner and Coy doing his own thing. But I did see that Coy is pre-entered for the expert classes down at Winter Throwdown. So maybe a rookie effort coming out of him. And our first little domino of team shakeups there with Brunner hopping on the Yamahas again. Before we get out of here today, I kind of got bored one day and was just looking at, the KTM struggles in the Super Twins class. For a manufacturer that's 450s have seen championships and race wins come their way in flat track racing. Cody got his three-peat and won several times. Shayna got so many wins on the KTM. Cage Tabin breaking in for wins on the KTM. Max Whale with victories on that machine. Right, plenty of riders have found success on those KTM machines, but at the Twins level, it's been a different story. And Briar Bauman is the only one who's really broken through with those KTMs to get a victory. In 2022, with help from Wally Brown, James Rispoli kind of burst onto the scene with that production victory, and then ran when they were doing that, win the top however many in the production class could then go up to the Super Twins class. Things like top 3 or 4 would be able to run in the Super Twins class. Rispoli was third on the Red Mile on those KTMs and maybe opened a lot of eyes there. But the following couple of years, Briar Bauman is the only one who's been able to find the top step of the podium on those KTMs. And during his time on that bike, he had 34 total starts, picked up 4 wins, 13 podiums, and 30 top 10s to go along with 3 DNFs, and then just one result outside the top 10 where he didn't DNF. But when you look at everybody else that's tried to race a KTM in the Super Twins class going back to 2023, it's been a struggle. From 2023 to 2025, we've had 18 different riders combined for 142 starts, efforts in the Super Twins class. And in those 142 starts, there have only been 60 top 10s and only 6 podiums, all of those coming in 2025 between Davis Fisher and Jared Vanderkooi. And Fisher's 2 runner-up finishes were the best that the KTM has seen outside of Briar Bauman from 2023 and 2024 in his couple of victories. So the KTM struggles, and it's definitely a little alarming. We've seen a lot of riders now sort of put their focus into a Yamaha, and then Harley seems to be having a little bit of resurgence here and some rumblings about a couple of guys hopping on XGs for next year. And just curious if anybody can kind of shake these gremlins and be that breakthrough rider that gets another KTM victory in the Super Twins class. Again, Fisher was close. Vanderkooi looked good at times this year, and then the end of the season was just a nightmare for them in that fast track racing camp. So we'll see if anybody can kind of right the ship as we head into 2026 and have a little more success on those KTMs. But yeah, man, less than half of the starts inside the top 10 for the rest of the field that have tried to run those bikes in the Super Twins class over the past few years. So we'll have to see how that looks in 2026. Just something I was curious about, something I was looking into, because we've heard so much about how a lot of people don't feel like that's the way to go as far as the platform for the Super Twins class, that it's still got a lot of development and recovery that needs to happen. And then you see like even though Bromley didn't get a win on the Suzuki last year, he came on with a lot of top 10s, several top 5s, got that, dash victory out in California. And that platform looks like it might be something to look into in the future as well. So we'll see how everything plays out for 2026. And again, who goes where and who rides what. So the schedule's set, the roadmap's out there. We know where everybody's going. We know how to plan our time off. It's great to see AFT taking care of a lot of these pockets of the country. And then again, you've got the RPM schedule as well, looking after that Midwest region. I think Jeff's got a really good thing going there. And it's cool. Like, you've got, obviously, AFT is the top level of sports where everybody wants to be, but you need more tracks and more races to really hone your skills. And, the Hires organization offers that. It's almost like, if you're a sprint car fan, the RPM series is almost like an ASCS or an All-Star Circuit of Champions schedule, where a little working man series, very like a regional thing that you get a lot of opportunity to race and get those extra starts under your belt, make a little extra money, and also, just continue to hone your skills and be ready to advance up to those pro ranks. And they do. I mean, they offer amateur classes and pro classes at all those events. There's several scheduling conflicts that he's probably not too happy about, but there's only so many Saturdays in a year. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. We're going to be doing a lot of traveling here in December. A little vacation up to New York City here in a week or so. And then December 13th, I'll be up in Timonium, Maryland. Excited for the kickoff of that series. Heard some rumors that a couple of big names might be trying to invade the Cow Palace and mix it up with some of the locals there in Timonium. So we'll have to see if that does in fact transpire and people aren't just all talk. But the weekend after that, we're heading back to Mid-Carolina Speedway again, round 2 of their winter series on December 20th, open practice December 19th, that Friday. They've got another race the opening weekend, January 2nd and 3rd. That'll be the conclusion of their 3-race winter series. Again, open practice Friday nights, racing on Saturday. I started practice around 2:30 on Saturday this past time. If you guys had a chance to check that video out, thank you so much. If not, we'll make that the linked video at the end of this thing. So thank you all so much for checking this out. As I always say, please make sure you're supporting everybody that's making content around the sport. There's not enough of it. I'm not very good at this, but there's other people who are much better, and we love to see more people step in and elevate everything. So, please make sure you're supporting those podcasts, YouTube channels, people who are posting content on social and covering this sport. It means a lot to see that engagement, and I appreciate everybody that likes, comments, shares, dislikes, anything, whatever. If you want to subscribe to the channel, it'd be great, but I'm not going to beg you to. If you want to get in touch with us off of this, we have the email address and the Instagram thing. I'll link those here in the video as well, or with a little graphic up there, and then you can check that out. You can reach out to us if you want, but yeah, hopefully we'll see you at the racetrack here, again, up in Timonium or Mid-Carolina or at Winter Throwdown. A lot of stuff to get excited about now. It's the most wonderful time of the year for the holidays, and soon we'll be back to seeing flat track racing on a regular basis. So, I really struggle with how to end these videos, and I tend to go on these little rambles. So we're going to cut it off right there. Thank you guys so much. Love you.